When a foreign company and a foreign educational institution comes into a country like this, the natural tendency and what's going to happen, I would say 100% of the time, is they will come and do exactly the same thing that they are doing back home.
Right.
Exactly the same thing. It's natural. It's in their blood, in their DNA. So I think we are moving from a perspective where the 2-year MBA is critical because it's supposed to teach you everything that you need to know, to the 2-year program is supposed to be the platform upon you're going to build other learning experiences, right? And we talk a lot at Bocconi about lifelong learning.
Indians are very strong in soft skills also because naturally there's no more diverse country in the world than India. So in your family life, you have to deal with crazy diversity. So soft skills at family life, at normal life, are at the top. You can call it jugad for certain things, okay? But so it's just that the education system, because of what David was saying, the millions that you have to filter is very focused on quants. But we see in the time that they spend with us that they change from this to this very quickly. You just pinch their soft side and they bloom.
When the market is difficult and there's not a lot of hiring or the salaries are not growing a lot, it's the time to be in school.
I'd like to welcome to another interesting video. I have with me today two interesting gentlemen who are part of the world of education. I am accompanied with David Bardolet and Alessandro Giuliani to discuss very important things, the things that are happening right now in a student's life as to how they should, shape up their career. What is the kind of education that you are seeing right now happening in India, and how that needs to change for them to be able to be part of the jobs and careers that are aplenty or available or is going to be available in the future. And we are going to talk about the institute that we are sitting in right now and the kind of things that you guys are planning on doing. So welcome aboard, welcome to InsideIIM again, and thank you for giving us your time today. So David, I will start with you. You have been part of this institute for the last 5 years, if I'm not wrong, or
Here
more
in
than
Mumbai.
that.
I've
Here
been
in
in Bocconi
Mumbai.
University since
Right.
2007.
Right. So, I'm going to ask you this question and start off our conversation today. When you came to India, right? Tell me, what was the first thing that you saw or figured in the first year or 2 years of operating here that you saw different in the way education is perceived in this country?
Yes. So obviously the first thing that surprised me was this very strong short-term view of education, right? Of viewing a program as the door to something that will happen right after. And a mindset of optimizing that, right? So in other words, trying to get the best job possible with the biggest compensation possible. That's a feature, a mindset that you don't see as much in other parts of the world when people are approaching higher education, and they're approaching it more with I want to learn in this direction, right? And with a mind of that having value for their entire lives. Right? So that is one thing that definitely surprised me, and that sort of made me adapt my way of thinking.
Right. And in case of you, Alessandro, when you first came in here, you've traveled the world also, you've stayed in different countries, you've started businesses, you've set up shops there, and you came in here, almost, it's over a decade, right, if I'm not wrong, and you have established this particular institute here, and you have always seen things happening here. What sort of shift have you experienced or seen after you came to India?
Well, at the beginning it was a very closed market, if you want, with either some students going abroad, a different world, and students staying here, which was the world of the IIMs. This has been gradually opening towards with the first coming of ISB and then the development of other schools in a more modern, more new age, they say, approach, where I think we played some kind of role because we came strongly with that approach of a perspective on the career rather than on just the placement and on preparing students for a full life, for a full career, with a different attitude, mindset, and more attention on soft skills. So when we came, it was really only CAT existing. Even in math was not there except for one institute. And you had to crack CAT in the upper 90s, and if an engineer, much better. This has been changing a lot. People have started appreciating all different paths of academic background, and have started understanding that soft skills were important. Indians are very strong in soft skills also because naturally there's no more diverse country in the world than India. So in your family life, you have to deal with crazy diversity. So soft skills at family life, at normal life, are at the top. You can call it jugad for certain things, okay? But so it's just that the education system, because of what David was saying, the millions that you have to filter, is very focused on quants. But we see in the time that they spend with us that they change from this to this very quickly. You just pinch their soft side and they bloom.
Right. Let's talk about, if somebody is looking to get into higher education. So for example, I am preparing to get into a B school, which is going to teach me the skills of talking to people, negotiating to people, skills to understand finances better, skills to understand how a supply chain works in the industry, so that I can get the better of the kind of things that I'm doing in my life, or probably I'm going to take up in the future, right? If I am at the crossroads like this and I'm not aware of that entire space, what are the kind of things that I should look for in an institute that is offering me that? How do I assess that this institute is going to be, the best institute or the choice for the money that I'm putting in or the time that I'm putting in there?
Look, a number of things, starting with the people you're going to spend the most hours with, which is the faculty. There's going to be really interesting and crucial activities that are going to happen around. There's going to be peer learning, and you can evaluate sort of the diversity or quality of peers. You're going to spend a lot of hours in the classroom with someone teaching you, and teaching you not in the sense, again, as giving you information, but making you think.
Yeah.
You have to evaluate the quality of that faculty, their diversity, their backgrounds, their approach to teaching of the institution, how they teach. Do they use the case method well, right, the right way? Do they organize the study plan in a variety of ways, where they combine lectures but also experiential learning with peer work? You have to evaluate that, because after 2 years, a lot of what you are comes from how you've used that time, but how also effective the school was in that. I would start there, really evaluating the faculty quality.
Right. What about you, Alessandro? Anything you want to add in that?
I totally agree with David. In the end, the faculty quality is the one that makes the school. At least in our case, we've seen that the semester of specialization abroad plays a very important role, and not only for the trips that they take around Europe, but because you are totally out of your comfort zone. You are in an environment that is totally different, with a lot of people from different nationalities that are totally different. And here somehow we have adapted also to an Indian environment, and we want to give an India grounding, which is, I think, the other plus of an international program to be here, that you develop the Indian grounding, the Indian network. When you are abroad, is a totally different thing. So that semester is really the turning point. We see when they come back, they are totally different from when they left here in Mumbai.
Let's talk about what the industry is looking for right now. We know for a fact that industries are also changing in the way they operate, in the mode that probably they had taken a decade back has drastically changed, right? And for you as a B school, it's important for you to understand and take note of what the industry is thinking and what is the kind of talent that they're looking for as well before you get them placed somewhere. So what is the kind of feedback, if I would have to say, that you have received over the years from the industry, from the people that you have placed probably, or in general the industry is saying that, hey, I think we are in need of these people with XYZ amount of skills. Can you train them for us and then send them to us? I'm not saying that you're becoming a placement agency and you decide that I have a agreement with this particular company and I'll say 20 people there. That's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at what has been the train shifts that you have seen, or the kind of requirements that you have seen from the industry that you have worked on internally as well as in institute, where you have helped students get those jobs that probably the students have asked you or told you that they are interested in.
I can start answering that, connecting it to what I think is an important trend in the markets, which is mass markets as we have understood them, right, in terms of the broad kind of standard type of market, are fragmenting across many, many industries. They are fragmenting into smaller segments, into smaller sub-markets that need specific solutions. To answer this challenge, large companies, medium companies, need to also fragment themselves, need to decentralize, need to be able to give an answer to that segment that fits that segment, because otherwise there is a specialized startup or another small company that is doing better with that group of customers, and then change the approach for another group of segments, etc. Naturally, this means that that large company needs to give more power to middle-level managers. So the decision-making power, the autonomy, is traveling downwards in organizations. Right? It's not a fast process, but it's happening, pretty much across, and we see it a lot. What does that mean? It means that companies increasingly need more and more people who can be mini CEOs of their areas, of their respective areas, who can understand a market, who can understand a customer, who can find a solution for that customer that is better than the competition. And so that's a broader set of skills, a more strategic set of skills that companies are increasingly needing for middle levels that before were simply focused on, I'm an HR professional, this is how we do hiring, and I'm doing it with the most efficient possible way. That's what we are getting from companies when they come and ask us to train their managers. And more strategic content, more leadership content, basically to make those managers capable of being those kind of mini CEOs, of managing a team, motivating a team, seeing the market, coming up with a solution and executing. In a broad way, I think that's what's coming up.
We started doing a lot of custom programs for corporates here also, where SDA Bocconi is number 4 in the world in the rankings. We started heavily also in India. And thanks to that activity, we have seen what are the gaps that the company find in their employees in the first years especially. So we've tried to adapt to that. So more than a specific request, which we do have after each season of placement, before the next one, we interact with the companies and try to understand what are the gaps that they've seen in the students, where we could do something. They do come and teach to the students very often, so that they have a grasp of what is the situation, and we have a lot of interactions with them. But generally speaking, the activity that we do in custom programs with corporates tells us where the gaps are in the fresh employee. And we try to adapt this, increasing the hours in leadership, for example, is one of the big area in India, and more recently in strategy, because they are really trying to give the decisional power going down, more granular. So the strategy skills are needed even at lower levels.
And to accomplish that, just to add, there's a point of differentiation there across institutions. That's, you need to be very flexible to be able to respond to those needs fast and incorporate them into your teaching methods, into your learning experience. And here, as I said, the point of differentiation, not all institutions have the same level of flexibility, right? We are extremely agile in changing the study plan, changing the curriculum, adding to it, subtracting to it, changing the approach to a certain course, make it more of a practical workshop and less of a lecture-based course. I think that agility will also make some programs better than others.
Right. Let's talk about the kind of situation that is there right now in the market. So we have seen a lot of layoffs happening. We have seen, in terms of companies cost cutting, in terms of companies saying that probably we have overhired, probably we have not strategized well at the time when we needed people we have hired, and then right now we are not in a position because the fundings have dried up, or there is overall recession, or there is economic downturn that's happening, because of which we are struggling to hire people, right? Now my question to you is, in times like these, as somebody who's running a B school, how do you see these times to be? And as somebody who is probably in the shoes of a student, how should they be looking at this particular time, and should they be investing their time and money in a B school, in acquiring a B school degree, and then ultimately struggle to get a job?
We've always said that business schools and higher education institutions are a bit counter-cyclical. And so when the market is difficult and there's not a lot of hiring, or the salaries are not growing a lot, it's the time to be in school, right? And just getting yourself ready for when the market turns. So that I think also applies in this kind of situation. Right? I think the layoffs that we are seeing, it's an adjustment, and it's an inevitable adjustment. We tend to make too much out of the short-term situation, like as if it's a structural change. It's not necessarily structural change. It's just an up and down adjustment, as you were saying, a correction that will then move to the next stage fairly fast. So if we're not going to be in a 10-year structural downturn, this is going to change fairly soon. It's a good time to be in school, getting yourself ready. Of course, I think it's another motivation to put effort in the learning, in the skill acquisition, because it's going to be tougher when you go to the market.
But how do you, as a B school, justify your position right now when the markets are tough? So, for example, going to companies, going to industries and saying that, hey, we have these many students that we have prepared for the last 2 years. Now, the companies are telling you that, probably we don't have an opening right now because we are struggling, right? How do you as a B school manage a situation like this?
We are a B school, so we are smart to adapt. And I always say there are layoffs, and ITs are hiring 30% less this year. India is growing at, we don't know, the numbers are very varied, but at least at 7-8% a year, okay? So it means that there are sectors that are growing and that are hiring like madness. So when we see this coming in, we shift and start looking for companies that are growing, sectors that are growing, that are there in India very much, okay? For sure, ITs this year are pulling back, but the whole India is growing. And in consulting, I was reading a study in consulting, there are in the market 50,000 jobs requirements. Yeah. So it's just that we're not meeting the two ends are not meeting. So we are constantly looking, we're constantly talking with the companies. We knew it was coming. Okay. Also, we knew that the crisis was coming in Europe and in the US. So we were prepared that IITs here would have a problem this year, okay, clearly. So we started 1 year back to look at other sectors also, and to prepare specific areas of consulting. Our students we have become very strong in consulting, okay, and we have been looking for those areas of consulting that are growing, and that are areas that are growing a lot. So when you tell me that there are layoffs, I'm sorry for the layoffs, but India is growing. There are more jobs being created than layoffs, I believe.
Moving on, I have one more question that I would like to ask you guys here, and that's something that probably is in the minds of a lot of students who are watching this conversation. SDA Bocconi Asia Centre has always been this global institute that we talk about, right? It has talked about its immersion, it has talked about the kind of exposure that you guys give to these students abroad when they go there and they do their course bit there. They stay there for 4 months. Their semester is spent there. In the context of the world that we are living in or moving towards, how important do you feel that this global exposure at the very beginning of their life is, and why do you think it is needed for a student who's going to come back to India and probably work?
companies in India, I'm not talking only about MNCs, now is the phase where Indian companies are starting to go abroad very strongly, very aggressively. So being a global exposure will give you a further push to be moved abroad or at higher level of the hierarchy. And we see that our students normally are the ones that are first sent abroad by MNCs or Indian companies because they've been exposed to this international, this global exposure. That, by the way, is not only in the semester, because we focus a lot on that, even when they're here in Mumbai. Faculty, 85% of the faculty teaching here is still faculty that comes from the main campus, and they are from about 10, 12 different nationalities. So there is already a very big exposure in the teaching with different approaches. Then we have programs that come here. We have programs that are in the same classroom with our students, like the double degrees. There are programs that are run here, but we have joint activities with programs from Canada, from China, from France, from Spain, from Denmark. So already here in Mumbai, there is a lot of global exposure, and we see that is fundamental. We see, we have seen that especially when they join the same classrooms, we tend to have problems at the beginning, but then both sides grow immensely, because foreign students come with certain skills that in India are not there or not valued, like the quality of presentations, things like this, or on-time presentations, while for them, they're very important, they are exposed to that. And so when they come here, Indian students realize that they're missing on something, and they change dramatically. Likewise, for the foreign students that come here, it's a wake-up call on how Indians are, they go to the point immediately, they know how to reach the point, what David was saying before, and how they are able to segment and face the problem in a very cold and, scheme-structured way. And so there is a deep learning on both sides that is amazing.
Let me conclude this conversation today by asking you this final question. When you're looking for students who are going to be part of your institute, who are these students that you're looking at? Are you looking at students probably sitting at a tier 2, tier 3 city right now, looking at us conversating about things that we're talking about? Are you looking at students who's probably sitting next door somewhere in Hiranandani Powai, who has all the facilities in the world in his ambit and or her ambit, and thinking very globally about the things that they want to do and achieve in their lives? Or you're talking to students who are passionate in general about learning new things which are going to, be life-changing for them in terms of skills, in terms of knowledge, in terms of education that they can get in life.
We have students, I think, from all, coming from all states, from all kinds of background. What we are really looking for, or what I want to have in the program, are really curious people. There's nothing more rewarding for the professor than someone that you see engaged in the argument and contesting it and thinking about it and coming back after a few days with more thinking. And there's nothing more frustrating than someone that is just looking at you in the classroom, and sometimes not even looking at you, but even just looking at you, and you have no idea what's going on in there. So curious people that are interested in bettering themselves, right? In really learning to learn, in building this platform, this base of skills that are going to be their North Star for the entire career, wherever they come from.
Before I let you go, one last piece of advice for students who are looking at this particular conversation, thinking about whether to join an MBA program or not, whether to take that leap of faith, which they probably have been contemplating within themselves for a long time.
I guess my piece would be take a step back from the common wisdom, and I understand fully that it's a moment where you're trying to optimize everything, where you're trying to make the best decision, thinking that this decision will determine your life. And I think a lot of students might be thinking that, they have to get it right. I think you have to look at the options you have, pick the one that you think is best for you for whatever reason or collection of reasons, and then be confident that what you do after that will matter just as much, and that your career will keep taking turns, that you will have to keep learning. So there's a lot of do-overs, there's a lot of second chances, there's a lot of things that you will be able to get better, to get it more right the next time. Don't overstress.
Yeah, choose well your school and be ready to work a lot, because again, I don't think schools should be considered as a placement agency. In the end, you will get your placement because good students, good schools take care of that also. But it is a life-changing 2 years, and be prepared to work a lot. We see students that work a lot really make a change.
Absolutely. And I definitely believe in this fact that, it's a 50-50 game where an institute or an university is only 50% responsible of your success, and the rest of the 50% has to come from you for you to reach to the places that you probably have thought of in your life. And I wish both of you all the luck to get the right person who will put that 50% and probably make it easier for you guys and put the 80% in so that they can reach to the best places possible. If you want to know more about this institute, there is a link in the description. Go check that out. Do tell us in the comments below if you have any questions that you want to ask these two gentlemen who are sitting here. Do tell us if you want to know more about this institute in another video or in any other form. We would try and make that as well. And do tell us what are the other sort of videos that you want us to make in the future. Thank you very much once again, gentlemen. Have a great day today and all the very best for future.
Thanks.
You too.
Thank you.